Hi, I'm Hal Roberts. This is Bridge City News. Here's some of the top stories we've been following. With the federal carbon tax going up on Canada Day, Tory leader Pierre Poilievre brought his Axe the Tax message to the Maritimes. Toronto has a new mayor. Political reporter Brian Lilly tells us more about the left-leaning Olivia Chow, who won the by-election on Monday night. And BCN's Micah Quinn introduces us to a Calgary athlete who will be competing at the World Triathlon Para Series in Montreal next month.
Your nation, your province, your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News with Hal Roberts.
Thanks so much for joining us. Federal Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre reiterated his party's stance on the federal carbon price regime, which is set to increase on Canada Day. Poilievre told reporters in Moncton, New Brunswick, that it's time, once and for all, to axe the tax.
Canadians are getting no perks from this government. In fact, after 8 years of Justin Trudeau, life costs more, work doesn't pay, housing costs have doubled, crime, chaos, drugs and disorder are common in our streets, and he divides to distract. Now 1 in 5 Canadians are skipping meals, and 1.5 million going to food banks every single month, because food prices under Trudeau have increased so dramatically. 9 in 10 of our young people believe they'll never be able to afford a home. After the price of a house has doubled across this country, now our housing prices are almost 100% higher than they are in the United States of America. But Trudeau's plan is to make it worse. He's increasing taxes on gas, diesel, and groceries starting on July 1st for Atlantic Canadians. Thank you. Thank you. We're holding a bit of a rally here. So these are all the hardworking people who are paying too much for gas already and don't want to pay Justin Trudeau's 61-cent a litre carbon tax.
Federal Health Minister Jean-Yves Duclos talked about our country banning cosmetic testing on animals. The federal government recently passed Bill C-47 that included amendments enacting the ban and making it illegal to sell products that rely on animal testing data.
This means that it is now prohibited to test cosmetics on animals in Canada. Companies will no longer be able to sell cosmetics that rely on animal testing data to establish product safety, and it is now prohibited to create false or misleading statements concerning the testing of cosmetics on animals. Today's announcement shows that we have reached a point where we can fulfill safety requirements for cosmetics without resorting to animal testing and without compromising the health and safety of Canadians. That will also increase the confidence of Canadians in the use of cosmetics and facilitate trade with countries with similar measures.
The subject of COVID-19 vaccine injuries has been a hot-button topic. Claims of vaccine injuries are often dismissed if there were pre-existing conditions prior to receiving a dose. Carissa Clam, a former healthcare worker, says after receiving her second jab, she endured a lifelong battle due to a confirmed vaccine injury. She now stresses the importance of doing your own independent research before allowing foreign substances into your body. She says she does not want others to go through what she experienced.
A lot of people were pro-vaccine, and I was one of them because I was a healthcare worker my whole life, and I had all my immunizations up to date, and so does my son. But after this, it's completely changed my mind. I am definitely not. I really have to rethink and do a lot of research before anything like this ever happens to me again. And I just hope people push themselves to do the research themselves to look into, a possible vaccine injury if you do get symptoms that maybe, you do need to go seek help.
Make sure you catch the full interview with former healthcare worker and paramedic Carissa Clam and BCN's Naveen Day coming up after Business News. Toronto has a new mayor. She is former NDP MP Olivia Chow. Chow takes over from John Tory, who stepped down. Political reporter Brian Lilly calls Chow a socialist and says even though she leans very much to the left, she's not a radical.
I've covered Olivia Chow for a long time, known her for close to 20 years. She herself is not a radical. She's definitely a socialist, but she's not a radical. She can be very pragmatic. But some of the people around her, there are questions. Haven't seen these people in positions of power. Are they going to be radicals? Are they going to try and bring radical change to City Hall? If so, it's going to be a bumpy ride.
Mr. Lilly will also discuss how inflation has gone down, but the price of groceries has gone up. He'll have details coming up after business news. Well, it was another beautiful day across much of southwestern Alberta again. Angela Stewart is here now with an early peek at the forecast. Angela, if we think it's warm now, just wait. The mercury will be climbing by quite a bit as we head to the Canada Day weekend.
Yes, lots of sunshine is on the way, so tons to look forward to there. We're going to be reaching those mid to high 20s, even sometimes shooting up to over 30 degrees. As for tomorrow, there is a risk of a thunderstorm, so I guess you could say one more last cool off before we see those beautiful temperatures ahead for the rest of the week. As for tonight, we're going to be reaching a low of 13 degrees. That's kind of the same deal for tomorrow. Like I said, a risk of a thunderstorm, and then also sitting at a low of 13 degrees. As for how the rest of the week is shaping up, we'll have all those details coming up later in the show.
Great. Thanks so much, Angela. A town in Manitoba has declared a local state of emergency due to a wildfire. The town of Leaf Rapids is organizing evacuations to Thompson as the fire is encroaching and threatening damage to the community. Town officials say the wind direction is expected to change and affect the local air quality as well. Environment Canada issued a special air quality statement for the area, saying the smoke from the forest fires is causing elevated air pollution. Alberta Wildfire says there are still 2,752 residents out of their homes in our province due to our wildfires. That includes those who live in the Little River Cree Nation, Fox Lake. There are currently 84 active wildfires burning, mostly in the northern and central parts of the province. 5 of the wildfires are still out of control. Just over 40 are under control, and 26 are being held. So far this season, we've seen 701 wildfires. Officials say 400 of the fires were human-caused, 178 were the result of lightning strikes, and 119 were suspicious in nature and are currently under investigation. Lethbridge Police Service warning residents about a recent cougar sighting at Mountain View Cemetery. Around 1:30 a.m. on Tuesday morning, LPS were called about a cougar who had been spotted near the Flame of Hope on the north side of the cemetery. Police responded to the call but couldn't find the cougar. Staff from Alberta Fish and Wildlife say they have a few tips you can implement should you stumble upon a cougar if you're out for a walk. If you notice a cougar in the distance, make sure you do not run or turn your back. If the animal is not aware of your presence, bring pets and children in close and slowly start to back away and leave the area. If a cougar is snarling or staring at you, do not run and make sure you do not play dead. Make yourself look big and speak loudly. If the cougar does end up attacking, fight back and use any means at your disposal necessary to fight it off. Now, another cougar sighting was also reported on June 23rd around the upper coulees of Pavan Park. Staff with Lethbridge Police say if you see a cougar, make sure to report it to the Public Safety Communications Centre by calling 403-328-4444. Around 200 goats are back at target grazing in some of the city parks for another year. For 5 years now, the animals have been used to control invasive weeds in the river valley. Since the inception of the program, the goats have grazed over 750 hectares of weeds.
Goats are a great asset to have, especially in our river valley parks. Our river valleys are very sensitive. We're right near the river. We don't want to use a lot of chemical or a lot of mechanical removal for weed species or vegetation management. So the goats are great. They come in, they target the weeds that we need them to target, and they don't disturb anything else. We are covering about 88 acres in 4 weeks, and they're covering the entire floodplain area of 2 parks. And so they're going out, they're targeting these weeds. They're not doing, mass damage. They're not bringing in trucks. They're not buying chemical. They're not supplying manpower.
City officials say the goats are brought into Alexander Wilderness Park and Indian Battle Park twice per summer. As the Canada Day long weekend approaches, Parks Canada is asking water recreationists to help prevent the spread of aquatic invasive species across the mountain parks. Last year, an estimated 13,000 non-motorized watercrafts entered national parks, lakes, and rivers without following clean, drain, dry protocols. Ecosystem scientist Megan Gowdy says once introduced, invasive species are sometimes impossible to remove from our waters.
And they can have significant repercussions for the native aquatic ecosystems. In the mountain parks, we have several species at risk, bull trout, west slope cutthroat trout. And so Depending on the invasive species we're talking about, there could be a wide range of repercussions for the native ecosystems, as well as visitor experience and assets and infrastructure in the parks too.
New numbers from the Alberta government's substance use surveillance system do not paint a pretty picture for overdose deaths here in Lethbridge. In April of this year, 20 people in our city died of an overdose. That is tied with a single-month record for the city from February of 2020. From January to the end of April of this year, the province says 56 people died in Lethbridge from an overdose. During the same period in recent years, drug overdoses took the lives of 38 people in 2022, 16 in 2021, and 10 in 2020. Lethbridge police have charged a 19-year-old man with sexually assaulting a 13-year-old girl. Police say the girl was first reported missing around 7 a.m. on June 22nd. She was discovered inside of a vehicle with the man at a Northside park. The girl was taken to Chinook Regional Hospital and the man was later arrested. Further investigation revealed that the young girl had been unconscious and was video recorded while being sexually assaulted. Police say the video content was being made for social media. 19-year-old Sean Cedric Bilo of Lethbridge faces a wide range of charges including sexual assault, sexual interference, along with making and distributing child pornography. He was released from custody with numerous conditions and is scheduled to appear in court on July the 5th. A driver of a linen truck died in a collision with Fortis trucks that were parked along the shoulder of a highway near Dutchess, Alberta. Police say the Fortis employees were outside of their vehicles doing electrical repairs in the ditch on Highway 550 just outside of Dutchess when the collision occurred on Monday morning. Police say the 25-year-old Tabor man who was driving the linen truck died at the scene. Police also say as a result of the collision, many of the Fortis employees were struck by debris and one sustained serious injuries. That person was taken to hospital. Police say a cyclist is recovering in hospital after being hit by an SUV on a rural road south of Calgary. Turner Valley RCMP were called around 1 p.m. on Monday to Highway 22 and Highway 549. Police say the cyclist was flown by air ambulance to Calgary and that the bike sustained significant damage. The best para-triathletes in the world are getting ready for the 2023 World Triathlon Para Series in Montreal on July the 8th. Stéphane Daniel, a Calgary athlete, will be competing at the highest level during the event. BCN's Micah Quinn chatted with Daniel to hear about his remarkable story of making it to the top of his field.
You know, initially I was a bit frustrated that my disability made me a bit slower than my peers.
Stéphane Daniel was born with bilateral radial club hand, and it hasn't held him back. Daniel is a quadruple world champion and made history in 2016, becoming the first triathlete ever to win a Paralympic Games medal with a silver in Rio. Daniel has been a constant presence at the top of his class since Rio, winning 3 straight world titles from 2017 to 2019.
I was never afraid to try my best and put myself out there. And, you know, I do the para racing, but I also do the able-bodied racing still. I'm competing in a half Ironman in Oregon in a few weeks as well. But I think that mindset actually, you know, helps me get to this point in sport for sure.
Daniel will be competing for Canada in the 2023 World Triathlon Para Series in Montreal. The para triathletes will go head-to-head trying to complete a 750-meter swim course, 22.5-kilometer bike course, and the 5-kilometer run course in the visual impairment, standing, or wheelchair class. Daniel told us how hard he has been training in preparation for the upcoming event.
Right now, I'm probably training about 25 hours-ish a week, probably swimming maybe 5 times a week, biking 5 or 6, and running about 5 times. And then also there's gym sessions on top of that, physio, massage, all that stuff, just to make sure I stay healthy and injury-free. So it is kind of like a full-time job. So
for Bridge City News, I'm Micah Quinn.
And I'm sure Stéphane Daniel will make us all very proud. Well, we've been enjoying some beautiful summer days here in Lethbridge, and those warmer conditions will continue. A full look at the weather forecast is coming up. You know, it's a very nice day to enjoy some homemade gelato ice cream. We've been experiencing some very warm weather across much of southwestern Alberta. Angela Stewart is in now with all of the weather details. Angela, the mercury may be climbing even further this week as we may be above 30 degrees, which appears to be a nice Canada Day long weekend shaping up.
Yes, absolutely. Canada Day will be beautiful. So it'll be a really great day on Saturday to take in all those Canada Day events that will be happening. Tomorrow, as for our Wednesday, there is a risk of a thunderstorm. But as the rest of the week goes on, we're going to be reaching those mid to high 20s, even as you can see there, hitting up to over 30 degrees at times. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 30, 31, 32. And then to end off our weekend, 27. Back to work on Monday, 26. Lots of sunshine, so it's great news. Our average high for this time of year is 24 degrees. Our average low is 10. The highest temperature was 32 degrees recorded back in 2002. Our lowest temperature was 2 degrees there. Back in 2007, our sun rose at 5:26 this morning and expected to set at 9:43, so that will put us around 16 hours and 17 minutes of daylight. Temperatures across the country now for Wednesday. Vancouver and Victoria seeing lots of sunshine out on the coast, so it's great news. There's going to be a little bit of wind and cooler temperatures, feeling about 18 degrees near the Juan de Fuca Strait by the water. Calgary, Edmonton, that's where we're seeing those risk of a thunderstorms, wetter conditions, 27, 25 for Calgary. Those wetter conditions, cooler temperatures are also kind of the same deal as we look to the rest of the prairies. But Saskatoon, Regina, beautiful conditions tomorrow, 23, 26. There's also going to be some light winds in there as well. Winnipeg, like I mentioned, risk of a thunderstorm there, 26. So wetter, cooler conditions. So don't put your rain gear away just yet. To the central part of the country where we're also seeing those milder temperatures, but still the humidex in these regions are still going to be making it feel a little bit humid. Ottawa, Montreal, and Toronto, 27, 23, and 20 for tomorrow. Atlantic Canada is kind of the same deal. Those wet, cold conditions, but still going to be very, very hot. Mid to high 20s there, 20 for both Halifax and Fredericton. Charlottetown, that's where they're seeing their mix of sun and cloud. And St. John's, 26 with rain expected for their Wednesday. And that's your full weather forecast.
Canada's competition watchdog says our country needs more competition in the grocery sector to help keep food prices down. The Competition Bureau study finds concentration in the grocery sector has increased over the past 5 years, and the big chains are really cleaning up at the tills. When the Competition Act was first introduced in 1986, there were at least 8 large grocery chains, and today there are only 5. Stats Canada said that grocery prices rose 9% year over year in May. Provinces that already cover dental care services for kids have been given a smaller share of federal dollars from the Canada Dental Benefit. That is raising concerns that the provinces will end that coverage as the federal program expands. Health Canada says the benefit was designed to complement provincial coverage, which is not applied equally across the country. Opposition parties say the results reveal an injustice and that the federal program is a strong deterrent for provinces to launch progressive programs. Now, here's a look at today's markets. The TSX was up 145 points on the day to finish at 19,733. The Dow was up 212 points to 33,926. The S&P 500 was up 49 on the day to 4378, and the Nasdaq was up 219 points to 13,555. West Texas Intermediate Oil was down $1.46 to $67.91 US per barrel. Natural gas was down 2 cents to $2.77 US. Gold was down $9.64 to $19.1362 US an ounce, and silver was up 8 cents to $22.87 US an ounce. Feed wheat is at $11.43 per bushel, barley's at $9.18, canola's at $16.65, and corn is at $10.59 per bushel. Live cattle were up $1.60 to $179.30. Feeder cattle August contract was up $4.83 to $238.50, and lean hogs July contract was up 73 cents to 94.13. The Canadian dollar was down slightly over the past 24 hours to 75.81 US. Recapping one of our top stories, the Competition Bureau released a study which says Canada needs more competition to keep food prices lower. The report was released as Stats Canada says grocery prices jumped 9% year over year in May. The competition watchdog says concentration in the grocery industry has increased and recommends that governments encourage independent grocers to set up shop and bring international grocers into the Canadian market. Political reporter and Toronto Sun columnist Brian Lilley will be chatting about inflation shortly and explain how more competition in the food industry would be really good for Canadian consumers. Listen, if you see news happening in your community, be sure to drop us an email at info@bridgecitynews.ca. We'd love to hear from you.
Here's your Bridge City News community calendar. It's the 121st Historic Raymond Stampede, taking place June 29th to July 1st. It will be your last chance to sit in the historic grandstand and cheer on pro rodeo events like bareback riding, team roping, ladies barrel racing, plus the Wild Horse Grand Entry, Kids Wild Pony Race, and so much more. Tickets will be available at the gate, $20 for adults, $10 for youth, and kids 8 and under are free. For details, visit Raymond Stampede's Facebook page. Come celebrate Canada's 162nd birthday in Lethbridge, taking place at Henderson Lake Park and Galt Gardens. Starting at 9 a.m., enjoy a toonie breakfast and the LeBaron's Car Club Show and Shine at Galt Gardens. And kicking off at noon at Henderson Lake Park, take in main stage performances, food hub, kids zone, and youth market. And end the day with a breathtaking firework display at 11 p.m. So much to see and do on Canada Day. And that's today's Bridge City News community calendar.